Hey guys, this is Paul Bray, and today I'll be showing you how to create a photorealistic looking puddle using Blender 2.45 beta. The tutorial can be found on blender.org as well as the source material such as the photos. It's a pretty lengthy tutorial, so I'm going to be splitting it up for the sake of time into parts 1 and 2. Right now I'm going to go ahead and cover part 1, so let's go ahead and get to Blender and get started. Okay, what we want to go ahead and do first is delete the main cube, and we're going to create a plane. We're going to go ahead and set up the scene and create the environment, and finally add the ground texture. Today is what we'll be doing, and then in part 2 we'll be adding reflections, creating a bump map, and then adding specularity to finish it off. So let's go ahead and create a plane. Let's add the mesh, and we're going to let it be pretty large. I'm going to scale it along the y-axis because it needs to be rectangular like our source image from Blender. And then after that we're going to go ahead and split this view vertically so that we can go over to our UV image editor, so we can go ahead and put the texture, or we can see the texture on the plane. I'm going to go to Image, Open, and here I already have all of the images. They're pretty large file sizes downloaded from blender.org from the Puddle tutorial. And I'm going to go ahead and select the stone one, and this is the base image that is just the regular image of the cobblestone street. Now I'm going to go over to our 3D view and tab into edit mode, and I'm going to press U to UV mapping, and I'm going to select unwrap. This is going to open up this area over here, and what I want to do is proportion and scale it so that it matches up in our 3D view. I'm going to right click and drag, and then set it with my left click, and same for the bottom, right click, drag, and left click to set it. Now what we can go ahead and do is, if we go back into the 3D view for a second, let's go into texture mode. Give it a second here. You can see that we mapped it and that this is our cobblestone street. So we're really just going to be looking and focusing on the puddle for this one here. Let's go ahead and get our number track looking really quick. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and position the camera on the ground. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and position the camera on the street, because we're really just going to be focusing, like I said, on the street here and not the background. You're just going to see the background and the rest of the scene and the reflection of the puddle. just going to move the camera right onto the street and we'll see what that gives us. There we go. Let's just back the camera up a little bit to show a little more. See what that gives us. And I think that we can, again, back it up and rotate it a little more. Almost there, you just have to keep tweaking it until you make sure that all of the scene is in it. You might have it this time. And then if all else fails, you can just scale the camera a little smaller to include the whole scene. But we're just going to rotate it. Okay, well we're finally there. Let's not move the camera anymore. Okay, now that we've positioned the camera, we're going to go ahead and create the background environment. So we're going to go to the world view right here and click paper sky because we want it to be, we want the texture to not stretch. We want it to perfectly reflect in the puddle. That's why we're choosing paper sky, and then we're going to go to the texture panel. Still make sure that the world is here, and we're applying the texture to the world and not the object, so we're going to add a new texture and we'll just call it city. That's what we're going to see. And then we're going to go to image or movie, and we're going to open city reflections again from Blender. To make this appear when we render it, we want to make sure that horizon is checked right here under image mapping and influence. To reflect the lighting, we're going to move this lamp right here all the way to the end of the plane, and then duplicate it just a few times, maybe just 3, move it over here. And that's just to create realistic lights coming from our horizon of the city. Okay, so we're getting there. We are gonna UV map the texture to the plane. So we're gonna add a new material to the plane. And everything will be left as default. And then we're going to go to the texture and add a new texture. And we'll call this original. We're going to again go to image or movie, and we're going to select again just the regular stone. Open that. And then we need to go to mapping, and we want to UV map it. And now if we render it, let's see what we get so far. You can see the reflection on the street. It looks like a nighttime scene and light coming from those directions, and you can see a little bit of the horizon right here. This concludes part 1, and part 2 will be adding reflections even more, and creating a bump map, and finishing off with specularity. Thanks for joining me for part 1, and I'll see you in part 2.